Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasade Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7. We are on chapter 13. We are hearing what Narad Muni is telling Yudhishthir Maharaj are the duties of the sannyasi. So yesterday we heard two practical points. One was of if there is some opposing philosophies, how should we deal with it? Does anyone remember? What should be our attitude?
We shouldn't go further with it. Like, we shouldn't argue.
Yeah, that's right. We shouldn't argue. Thank you. Yeah. And approach with humility.
Yes.
And then also there was also read one was about reading unnecessary literature, exposing ourselves to unnecessary literature. So we can, try to gradually reduce that. Okay, so let's go on. Nayatir ashrama prayo
Yatirashramah payo
Prayo
dharma hetur mahatmanaha
dharma
Dharma
hetur
Mahatmana
mahatmanah
shantasya samachittasya
Shantasya
shantasya
Samachittasya
samachittasya
bibrayat uta vatyajet.
Viprayat
viprayat
Utavatyajate.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. A peaceful, equipoised person who is factually advanced in spiritual consciousness does not need to accept the symbols of a sannyasi, such as the Tridanda and Kamandalu. According to necessity, he may sometimes accept those symbols and sometimes reject them. There are 4 stages of the renounced order of life: Kutichaka, Bahudaka, Parivrajaka, and Paramhamsa. Herein, Srimad Bhagavatam considers the Paramhamsas among the sannyasis. The Mayavadi impersonalist sannyasi cannot attain the Paramhamsa stage. This is because of the impersonal conception of the Absolute Truth. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti Shabdayate. The Absolute Truth is perceived in 3 stages, of which Bhagavan, or realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is meant for the Paramhamsas. Indeed, Srimad Bhagavatam itself is meant for the Paramhamsas. Paramo Nirmatsara Saranam Satam, those who are non-envious. Srimad Bhagavatam is really relished by persons who are not envious, so the Paramhamsa. Here Prabhupada is explaining that actually the devotee sannyasis, they can reach the Paramhamsa stage, because a Paramhams is one who's understood the absolute truth as Bhagwan, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is the highest understanding. Unless one is in the Paramhamsa stage, he is not eligible to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. For Paramhamsas or sannyasis in the Vaishnava order, preaching is the first duty. To preach, such sannyasis may accept the symbols of sannyas, such as the danda and kamandalu, or sometimes they may not. Generally, the Vaishnava sannyasis, being Paramhamsas, are automatically called Babajis, and they do not carry a kamandalu or danda. So the symbols, sannyasi we just read earlier, that they have to carry their danda, they have to carry the kamandalu. But here Narad Muni is saying that if the sannyasi is so advanced that he's a Paramhams, he doesn't need to. So Prabhupada is explaining why. Because the focus of the Paramhamsa is preaching, to go everywhere, all around the world, to give Krishna consciousness to everyone. So, to do that, sometimes it may not be very convenient to carry a danda or kamandalu. So, in that case, he doesn't need to, because he's doing a higher duty, which is preaching. Okay, such a sannyasi is free to accept or reject the marks of sannyas. His only thought is, where is there an opportunity to spread Krishna consciousness? So this is what the Paramhamsa is thinking. What is our thought, Maybe our thought is how I can enjoy this or how I can enjoy that. But a Paramhamsa sannyasi is thinking, how can I spread Krishna consciousness? Where can I go now? Who can I give Krishna consciousness to? Sometimes the Krishna consciousness movement sends its representative sannyasis to foreign countries where the danda and kamandalu are not very much appreciated. We send our preachers in ordinary dress to introduce our books and philosophy. Our only concern is to attract people to Krishna consciousness. We may do this in the dress of sannyasis or in the regular dress of gentlemen. Our only concern is to spread interest in Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining about the Krishna consciousness movement, that his mood, his mission is Lord Chaitanya's mission actually, right? Lord Chaitanya said that Krishna's name will be chanted, will be sung all over the world. So the Krishna consciousness movement, the mood is like that. And the devotees are going everywhere to give Krishna to others, to give Krishna consciousness to others. Avyakta lingo vyaktartho
Avyaktalingo Vyaktatho
Vyaktartha
manishi unmata balavat
Manishi
Unnata
Matavara
Bhavlavat
kavir mo kavad atmanam
Kavir Mukavad
Kavada
Atmanam
sadrishtya darshayen nirnam.
Sadrisha
Sadrishtya Darshayenam
Darshayenam.
Although a saintly person may not expose himself to the vision of human society by his behavior, his purpose is disclosed. To human society, he should present himself like a restless child, and although he is the greatest thoughtful orator, he should present himself like a dumb man. A great personality very much advanced in Krishna consciousness may not expose himself by the signs of a sannyasi. To cover himself, he may live like a restless child or a dumb person, although he is the greatest orator or poet. Do you all remember any personality like this? Any devotee who was living
Jad
like
Bharat.
that? Yeah, that's right, Jad Bharat. He was a great devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord. He was a Paramhamsa. But he conducted himself as if he's dumb. You know? He was just wanting to focus on his bhajan. Atrapi udaharanti mam
Atrapi Udaharanti Mam
Imam
itihasam puratanam
Itihasam
Puratanam
Puratanam
praharadasya cha samvadam
Radasya Cha Samvadam
Samvadam
munir ajagarasya cha.
Munir
Ajagarasya
Ajagarasya
As a historical example of this, learned sages recite the story of an ancient discussion between Prahlad Maharaj and a great saintly person who was feeding himself like a python. The saintly person met by Prahlad Maharaj was undergoing ajagar vritti, the living conditions of a python, which does not go anywhere but sits in one place for years and eats whatever is automatically available. Prahlad Maharaj along with his associates, met this great saint and spoke to him as follows. So, who's telling this story? Who's narrating this?
Narad Muni
Yeah, that's right. To who?
to Yudhishthir Maharaj.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Tam shayanam dharopasthe
Tam shayanam dharapaste
kaveryam sahasanuni
kaverya
Kaveryam
sahasanuni
Sayasranuni
rajasvales deshe
rajasvale
Rajasvalestanu
deshe
Deshe
niguda malatejasam
niguda
Nigudhamala
amaltejasam
Tejasam
dadarsha lokan vicharan
Tadarsha Lokan
Dadarshalokan
Vicharan
vicharan
loka tattva vivitsaya
Loka
lokatattva
Tattva
vivitsaya
Vivitsaya
rito matye katipaye
vrito
Rito
amatye
Matye
katipraye
Katipaye
prarado bhagavad priyaha
prahlado
Narado Bhagavad
bhagavatiyaha.
Priyaha
Prahlad Maharaj, the most dear servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, once went out touring the universe with some of his confidential associates just to study the nature of saintly persons. Thus he arrived at the bank of the Kaveri, where there was a mountain known as Surya. There he found a great saintly person who was lying on the ground covered with dirt and dust, but who was deeply spiritually advanced. Karma na kriti bhirvacha
Karmana
Karmanakriti
akriti
Vacha
vacha
linger varna shramadibhihi
linger
Lingervarnashramadivi
varnashramavihi
na vidanti janayam vai
na vidanti
Vidanti
janayam
Janayam Ve
so sav iti na veti cha.
sosa
Soshab Iti Naviti Cha
Neither by that saintly person's activities, by his bodily features, by his words, nor by the symptoms of his varna sharma status could people understand whether he was the same person they had known. The inhabitants of that particular place, on the bank of the Kaveri in the valley of the mountain known as Surya, were unable to understand whether that saint was the same man they had known. It is therefore said, Vaishnava Vaishna Vera Kriya Mudra Vigyena Bujhaya. A highly advanced Vaishnav lives in such a way that no one can understand what he is or what he was. Nor should attempts be made to understand the past of a Vaishnav. Without asking the saintly person about his previous life, Prahlad Maharaj immediately offered him respectful obeisances. So Prahlad Maharaj, he was, touring the universe, it is mentioned. Means he had interplanetary travel he could do with his confidential associates. And then he's come to the banks of the Kaveri and he's seeing a saintly person. And the saintly person seemed so renounced that people couldn't understand that did they know him earlier or no. And so Prabhupada is pointing out that a highly advanced Vaishnav, one cannot understand what his previous life was. I mean, who he was before in the Varna Sharma system, you know. So what is needed to understand that, oh, right now he's a great saintly person. This is what the idea is. Not too concerned about his past, but concerning, oh, let's hear from him now. That mood. Tam
Yeah, Hare
Tatva
Krishna.
Hare
Yeah, it
Krishna.
says like no attempt also should be made, right?
Yeah.
No attempt should be made to understand the past,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Because we are always, because then we may come to a wrong conclusion. or we may become offensive. But what we need to understand that right now this person is a Vaishnava.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tam natva bhyarchya vidivat
Tam natva bhyarcha
Abhyacharya Vidhi Vrat
padayo shirasa sprashan
Padayo Shirisa Prashan
vivitsur idam aprakshin
Vivitsu Idam Aprakshin
Aprakshita
mahabhagavato suraha.
Mahabhagavato
Mahabhagavato Shuraha.
The advanced devotee Prahlad Maharaj duly worshipped and offered obeisances to the saintly person who had adopted a python's means of livelihood. Thus, after worshipping the saintly person and touching his own head to the saint's lotus feet, Prahlad Maharaj, in order to understand him, inquired very submissively as follows. Because Prahlad Maharaj is a Mahabhagavat. He's a high, we just heard his instructions and his prayers. It's such amazing. So he's a Mahabhagavat. So he can understand, oh, here is a great personality. You know, one great personality can understand another great personality. Bibharshi kayam pivanam
Vibharshikayam Pivanam
sodyamo bhogavan yatha
Sodhyama
Bhogavan Yatha
Bhogavanyatha
vittam chaivodhyamavatam
Vitam
Vidyam
Chaivodhyavatam
Chaivodhyamavatam
bhogo vittavatam iha
Bhogo
Bhogo
Vidyavatam
Vidyavatam
bhoginam khalu dehoyam
Bhoginam
Bhoginam
Khalu
Khalu Dehoyam
piva bhavati nanyatha.
Deviva
Piva
Bhavati
Bhavati Nanyatha.
Seeing the saintly person to be quite fat, Prahlad Maharaj said, "My dear sir, you undergo no endeavor to earn your livelihood, but you have a stout body, exactly like that of a materialistic enjoyer. I know that if one is very rich and has nothing to do, he becomes extremely fat by eating and sleeping and performing no work." Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did not like his disciples to become very fat in the course of time. He would become very anxious upon seeing his fat disciples becoming bhogis or enjoyers of the sense. This attitude is herewith confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj, who was surprised to see a saintly person adopting Ajagar Vritti and becoming very fat. So Prabhupada is explaining that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would also get concerned if his disciples were becoming fat, because he would think, hey, what's happening? Are they, uh, like getting carried away or something? Also, it's not very good for the health, we can see now. Because of lifestyle, so many more diseases. We are succumbing to so many more diseases, right? So, but anyway, here Prahlad Maharaj is surprised that here is a saintly person. He doesn't move, sitting in one place like a python, and he's become fat. In the material world also, we generally see that when a man who is poor and skinny gradually endeavors to earn money through business or some other means, and he then gets the money, he enjoys the senses to his satisfaction. By enjoying the senses, one becomes fat. Therefore, in spiritual advancement, becoming fat is not at all satisfactory. Okay. न ते शयानस्य निरुद्यमस्य
Natishanayasya
Nirudyanasya
niruddhamasya
ब्रह्मण्योहार्थो यत एव भोग
Brahman
brahmano
Ato Yata Eva Bhogaha
भोगो जिनो यम तव विप्रदेह
अभूवो न्यूनं
भोजनं
तव
तव
मे
मे प्रतिमा
प्रतिमा
पीवा यतस्तद्वदना शमं चेत्
पीवा
पीवा
यतस्तवदनं
यतस्तद्वदनं चेत्
चेत्
O Brahmana, fully in knowledge of transcendence, you have nothing to do, and therefore you are lying down. It is also understood that you have no money for sense enjoyment. How then has your body become so fat? Under the circumstances, if you do not consider my question impudent, kindly explain how this has happened. Generally, those engaged in spiritual advancement take food only once, either in the afternoon or in the evening. If one takes food only once, naturally he does not become fat. The learned sage, however, was quite fat, and therefore Prahlad Maharaj was very much surprised. Because of being experienced in self realization, a transcendentalist certainly becomes bright faced, and one who is advanced in self realization must be considered to possess the body of a Brahman. Because the bright faced saintly person was lying down and not working, and yet was quite fat, Prahlad Maharaj was puzzled and wanted to question him about this. So Prabhupada is explaining that one is self realized or one is advanced in spiritual realization, then, one's aura becomes nice, right? Bright, bright faced, looks effulgent. We've seen also, no, some devotees, they look like so effulgent. Once we were in Malaga, we were in the temple celebrating Janmashtami, and then there was like a bus full of devotees who had come from Russia, brahmacharis, and they were all so bright faced. It looked as if they had come from Vaikuntha. They had all the orange robes, and they were uh, having their tilak, and then they were dancing in the kirtan. They were like looking like Vaikuntha men. Looked, yeah, I don't know if y'all had the experience, but anyway, yeah. Kavi Kavi Kalpo Nipuna Drek.
कपि कल्पो निपुणः
Chitra Priya Katha Sama.
चित्रप्रिया कथा समः
Lokasya Kurvata Karma.
लोकस्य
कुर्वत
कुर्वतः
कर्म
कर्मः
Sheshe Tat Vikshita Piva.
शेषे
शेते
तद्विक्षिता
तद्विक्षितापि
अभावः
Your honor appears learned, expert, and intelligent in every way. You can speak very well, saying things that are pleasing to the heart. You see that people in general are engaged in fruitive activities, yet you are lying here inactive. Prahlad Maharaj studied the bodily features of the saintly person, and through the saint's physiognomy, Prahlad Maharaj could understand that he was intelligent and expert, although he was lying down and not doing anything. Prahlad was naturally inquisitive about why he was lying there inactive. Any comments till now? Or any questions? Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, because they're trying to explain a point, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we'll continue reading then. Shri
Mm.
Narada Vacha
Shri Narada Uvacha
Narada
Sa Itham Daitya Patina
स इत्थं
Saitham
दैत्यपतिना
Patina
Pariprishto Mahamunihi
परिपृष्टो
पृष्ठो
महामुनिः
Mahamuni
Mayamanastam Abhayaha
संयमानस्तम्
नस्तम
अभयाः
अभयाः
Tadvag Amrita Yantrita.
तद्वाक्
तद्वामृतयन्त्रितः
अमृतयन्त्रितः
Narad Muni continued, when the saintly person was thus questioned by Prahlad Maharaj, the king of the Daityas, he was captivated by this shower of nectarian words, and he replied to the inquisitiveness of Prahlad Maharaj with a smiling face. So Prahlad Maharaj's words are seeming like nectar to the Brahman. So he's captivated. Shri Brahman Uvacha
Shri Brahman Vachan
Vacha
Vededam Asura Shrestha
Vededam
Asura
Asura
Shrestha
Shrestha
Bhavan Nanva Arya Sammataha
Bhavanam Arya
Sammataha
Iho Paramayor Nirnam
Iho Paramayo Nam
Padani Adhyatma Chakshusha.
Padani
Padam
Adhyatma
Adhyatma
Chakshusha.
Chakshusha.
The saintly Brahman said, O best of the Asuras, Prahlad Maharaj, who are recognized by advanced and civilized men, you are aware of the different stages of life because of your inherent transcendental eyes, with which you can see a man's character and thus know clearly the results of acceptance and rejection of things as they are. Okay, just one moment. Right. So the Brahman also recognizes Prahlad Maharaj, that Prahlad Maharaj is a Mahabhagavat. He's on the transcendental platform. He's seeing everyone with transcendental eyes. A pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj can understand the minds of others because of his pure vision in devotional service. A devotee like Prahlad Maharaj can study another man's character without difficulty. So we can see Prahlad Maharaj, he's a pure devotee, and the way he's speaking, the Brahman is feeling that Prahlad Maharaj's words are like nectar. Yeah. So this is how a devotee speaks, with nectar, so pleasing. It's so pleasing to hear him. The Brahman is like amazed to hear him. And then he also understands that Prahlad Maharaj has, because he's on the transcendental platform, his vision is pure. He's seeing everyone as part and parcel of Krishna, spirit, soul. That's pure vision. And why he has that? Because he's engaging in devotional service. He can understand another person's character. You can see, how qualified he is. Yasya Narayano Devo
Yasya
Yes,
Narayano
Narayano
Devo
Devo
Bhagavan Hritkata Sada
Bhagavan
Bhagavan
Hridgataha
Nirgata
Sada
Sada
Bhaktya Keval Yagyanam
Bhaktya
Bhaktya
Kevalaya
Kevalaya
Gyanam
Dhunoti Dvantam Arkavat.
Dhunoti Dvantam Arkavat.
Bhagavan
Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is full of all opulences, is predominant within the core of your heart because of your being a pure devotee. He always drives away all the darkness of ignorance as the sun drives away the darkness of the universe. The words Bhaktya Kevalya indicate that simply by executing devotional service, one can become full of all knowledge. Krishna is the master of all knowledge. Aishwarasya samagrasya viryasya yashasa shriyaha. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridesha arjuna tishtati. And when the Lord is pleased with the devotee, the Lord instructs him. Only to the devotees, however, does the Lord give instructions by which to advance further and further in devotional service. To others, the non-devotees, the Lord gives instructions according to the manner of their surrender. So Prabhupada is explaining that Krishna, he is there in our hearts and each and everyone's heart. And when one is a devotee, then Krishna personally gives instructions to these devotees of how he can come closer to him. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, to those who are constantly devoted to who are constantly engaged in serving me with love, I give the intelligence by which they can come to me. So Krishna is in our heart. He says, by me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgiveness. So Krishna is the one who gives instructions from the heart to the devotee how to become more and more, engage more and more in devotional service. So, um, but not to the non-devotee, because if somebody wants to remember Krishna, Krishna makes arrangements for them to remember. If somebody wants to forget Krishna, then Krishna makes arrangements for them to forget. Right? Depends on our desire. A pure devotee is described by the words Bhaktya Kevalya. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Bhaktya Kevalya means Gyan Karmadi Amishraya, unmixed with fruitive activities or speculative knowledge. Simply surrendering at the lotus feet is the cause of all a devotee's enlightenment and awareness. So, what is the main point in this verse?
To be engaged in devotional service, to get further guidance and instructions from the Lord.
Yeah, one
And
yeah, one needs to surrender to the Lord.
Yes, you surrender
Yeah,
accordingly, right? Lord
yeah,
rewards accordingly.
yeah, yeah,
Yatamam prapadyanti.
yeah. You know the verse?
Yeah. Ye yatha mam prapadyanti tam sateva bhajami aham. Mama vartma nu vartanti manusya partha sarvashaha.
Jai. Okay. So, as one surrenders, Krishna rewards accordingly. So, devotee is surrendered to Krishna. So, Krishna is giving him more and more guidance, how to engage more and more in devotional service. There's somebody who wants to forget Krishna, so Krishna gives him the intelligence. Okay, forget me. Okay, tathapi brumahe prashnams
happy Brahmahe Krishna,
tava
Prashnam
tava rajan yatha shrutam
Tavarajan Yatha Shrutam,
sambhashaniyo hi bhavan
Sambhashaniyo Hi Bhavan,
atmanah shuddhim ichchata.
Atmanahi Shuddhim Ichchata.
My dear king, although you know everything, you have posed some questions which I shall try to answer according to what I have learned by hearing from authorities. I cannot remain silent in this regard, for a personality like you is just fit to be spoken to by one who desires self purification. A saintly person doesn't wish to speak to anyone and everyone, and he is therefore grave and silent. Generally, a common man does not need to be advised. Unless one is prepared to take instructions, it is said that a saintly person should not address him, although sometimes, because of great kindness, a saintly person speaks to ordinary men. So Prabhupada is saying that if one wants to be instructed, then the sadhu will instruct him. Otherwise, the sadhu will just remain quiet. Like Krishna also, Arjuna kept on speaking in the first chapter, so many excuses he's giving, so much he's keeping on saying. Then finally, when Arjuna tells Krishna, oh, now you tell me what I must do. I surrender to you. I'm a soul surrendered to you. I'm your disciple. So you please instruct me. Then Krishna starts giving instructions. Till then, Krishna was quiet. So the saintly person, the sadhu, is also like that. He's grave and silent, and somebody approaches him, he speaks to him. But the devotees, out of their kindness, because they want everyone to chant Krishna's name. Lord Chaitanya says, Yare dekha tare kaha Krishna upadesh. So out of compassion, out of kindness, then the sadhus are preaching, telling everyone, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shiksha. So as for Prahlad Maharaj, however, since he was not a common ordinary man, whatever questions he posed would have to be answered, even by a great and exalted personality. So, we may think, oh, how is this? We tell somebody, oh, you became so fatty, you became so thin. Is Prahlad Maharaj also acting like that? And this is recording in a Srimad Bhagavatam. So certainly that's not the case, right? There's going to be great lessons to be learned. Because otherwise one may wonder, oh, why is Prahlad Maharaj asking this question now? So now we are going to hear what this Brahmana has to say. Okay, therefore the saintly Brahmana did not remain silent, but began to answer. These answers, however, were not concocted by him. This is indicated by the words Yatha Shrutam, meaning as I have heard from the authorities. In the Parampara system, when the questions are bona fide, the answers are bona fide. No one should attempt to create or manufacture answers. So Prabhupada is saying we should always give what we have heard from the authorities, bona fide answers, the evidence. We should not, make up anything, create or manufacture, or according to me, maybe I think. No, one must refer to the Shastras and give answers according to Vedic understanding. The words Yatha Shrutam refer to Vedic knowledge. The Vedas are known as Shruti because this knowledge is received from authorities. The statements of the Vedas are known as Shruti Praman. One should quote evidence from the Shruti, the Vedas or Vedic literature, and then one's statements will be correct. Otherwise, one's words will proceed from mental concoction. We can see, Prabhupada's purports. He has written so many books, so many purports. He never says, according to me, maybe, I think. No. All the time giving evidence. This is quoted from this, Gopala Tapani Upanishad, this Brahmanarikya Upanishad, then, Shveteshwara Upanishad, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. He's always quoting, giving evidence which verse is coming from where. So this is how we should also learn to speak from the scriptures and give evidence where we are speaking from, so that we can also have a correct understanding and we can give others a correct understanding. Any comments, questions? Everyone seems pretty quiet today, huh? All right.
Hare
No,
Krishna.
no, this is
Hare
also
Krishna.
clear.
Hare
One
Krishna.
one point, like as you said, that we might think that why Prahlad Maharaj is saying this, and like how he's, but that is also like what Krishna said in Gita, that Arjuna can never be bewildered and lament, but for the good of us, he behaved in that way. So great
Yeah.
person does that for the goodness, welfare of the humanity, for us, so that we might not commit the same mistakes, or we might learn how to behave in such situations and not misbehave with Mahapurush, great
Yeah.
Vaishnavas.
Yeah. But here, Prahlad Maharaj is
Mm.
not bewildered, huh?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
telling about the
Yeah.
Bhagavad Gita, like how he
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
lamentation, like he fell into the lamentation, and how Krishna explained. So there might
Yeah.
also be a lesson for us to learn, like how he did
Yes.
in the same way, so that we don't misbehave. We
That's right.
might we might say कि कितने मोटे हैं, देखो कैसे बोलते हैं, साधु हैं, but it is just that because we don't know, so we should not misbehave. So we can learn from this, and so that's why he's also putting this question. Though he's a Mahabhagavat, he doesn't need to, but for the goodness of us, for the greater good of human, for us,
Yeah.
he's
And
doing this, right?
yeah, and he wants us to hear the instructions.
Ah.
What is Avadut is going to speak.
Hmm.
He wants us to hear that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
because of okay. So let's stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening in and joining in. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.